This will be
I
telling.
picked up this weird signal the other day. It was coming from Monarch.
This,
Here we go again. No
you know, when I originally played the game,
It's
it was a
waste.
wonderful
Who's
reveal.
hearing things?
No,
Because it looked
seriously.
spectacular.
There was a lot of static at first, but
It'll be
you're free
real
to
interesting to
talk.
see how the Switch version looks in here. Yeah.
Try not to be distracted by the glare of the adverts. Lots of unsavory types about.
I mean, yeah. The Outer Worlds. It's an RPG game where one of the core thematics is corruption and exploitation and a runaway corporate culture. Within that fantastically wry, frequently funny, and occasionally terrifyingly all too close to reality narrative framework is a company called Spacer's Choice. And their whole gimmick is making products that are middling in quality, at best, but much more affordable than the good stuff. And they admit as much. Their motto, frequently heard throughout the game in jingles and in fact contractually required as a greeting from their employees, is
It's not the best choice. It's Spacer's choice.
And that, perhaps, is the fastest way to describe the quality of the newly released Nintendo Switch port of this spectacularly good RPG. Hello again, I am Blunty, and I spent yesterday streaming The Outer Worlds' new Switch port over on twitch.tv/bluntnate, and if you're here on this video within half a day or so of it going up, head on over to Twitch, and you may find me streaming even more of it. Whereupon, if you like, you can just chill out with us, or you can ask some questions that I perhaps didn't address in this video. Otherwise, I hope you find this video useful in its own right, and if so, there's that sub button, there's the bell icon down there, thumbs and comment section, all begging for a few seconds of your attention, and using them would be greatly appreciated because algorithm, evil. So, after waiting about 9 months from the original launch of this game on PC, Xbox and PlayStation, and the tremendously positive reaction it had from players and reviewers upon launch, many people were very eager for the chance to play this on the Nintendo Switch. Some, like me, already owned the game on PC or console and were very excited by the fact that we could have this game on a portable device. Not that, as it turns out, many of us are traveling the world on long, boring international flights and the like right now. And some others were just waiting for the Switch version, either because that's the platform of choice for them, or maybe it's the only gaming platform, or whatever the reason is. It's here now, and many are asking, rightfully so, is it any good? Is it worth it? It's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice. That's the long and the short of it. It boils down to this. If the Switch is your only or heavily preferred gaming device, the game is fine. It's a long way from being the best port I've ever seen for the Nintendo Switch, and we'll get into more of that at the moment, but the core gameplay, the things about this game that actually make it such a superb experience to actually play, are all still here. More or less unhindered by some of the technical and performance limitations that the Switch imposes. The spectacular world building, much of which is woven into computer entries and NPC dialogues and environmental details and everywhere you look, basically. The complex and engaging characters, the deep and often unexpected twists and turns the branching dialogue trees can offer up, and the frequently grey and morally challenging choices you are forced to make throughout your gameplay are all still here, perfectly intact. But it is clearly, and easily, the ugliest this game has ever looked. There is obviously no denying that. I mean, look at it. Now, you regulars will know this about me. I love when a game looks pretty. I love when a game looks glorious and crisp and clean, and it can certainly help with engagement and immersion, but I am absolutely not one of those gamers who considers quote-unquote bad graphics to be the be-all and end-all of being able to actually enjoy a game. But in the case of this game, it's fair to say that the occasionally very muddy and blurry presentation is at times pretty distracting. Not always, and not in every environment. In fact, some environments look pretty decent, actually. And obviously on stream, where we're actively looking at that aspect of the game, we were paying attention to it quite deliberately and chatting about the differences. But even in the worst areas, I was still able to sink into the gameplay and legitimately just not notice, or at least not be distracted by it from time to time. The larger issue beyond the muddy textures and blocky terrain is performance. It only got particularly bad a few times, so far at least. Severe frame drops and frame pacing issues popped up in combat moments, which did cause some issues. Outside of that, there were odd moments of actual loading circles. Just the game stopped dead and had a little loading circle twirl around for a while as I moved through the open environments, admittedly only while running at speed. Walking pace, this never cropped up, but if you run, it can't quite keep up with itself, it seems. So I was doing this presumably to load in the next area's worth of textures and models, and this didn't happen on any other version of the game, and it is very distracting and very immersion destructive. Luckily, this particular issue has never yet cropped up in crucial gameplay moments, like combat, for example. So it's annoying and very hard to excuse, but in the end, tolerable. There was one combat moment where I had a massive amount of frame drop, which did make the combat basically impossible to play. I had to sort of run away from the area so the frames would come back to normal so I could actually, aim and stuff. But on that topic, a welcome addition to the Switchboard, though, is a rejiggering of the controls. Now, I normally keep my first-person action games to the PC, mouse and keyboard being an inherently superior way to play first-person games. There is no arguing against that, especially the ones with shooting mechanics. But I do know some gamers, console prime gamers, can be very good at FPS with twin-stick controls, perhaps even better than me with a mouse and keyboard. I will not deny that. Hell, I know one guy who plays Fortnite pretty decently on the PC, but uses a PS4 controller. I'm not going to name and shame this monster, this deviant, but he works for Elgato. And with this one revolting exception, he is actually a nice guy. Sorry, I couldn't resist throwing him under the bus a little bit. But such was my love for this game that I really wanted a portable version too. So I made one of my rare exceptions to my no FPSs with twin sticks rule. Well, not rule, but But this version of the game helps out a little bit more than the other console versions on that score. It includes several different options for aim assist. Firstly, the whole console common aim assist feature has been reworked and rejiggered and tweaked. Secondly, there's a new inclusion of motion-assisted aim. And this comes in two forms. You can have it off completely if you like, or you can have it only on when you're aiming down sights, or you can have it on at all times, even when out of combat, so you can use it to, look around normally. And of course it does work with either the Joy-Con or the Pro Controller. You can use whatever combination works best for you. Personally, after trying every permutation, I settled on the Pro Controller with ADS Motion Assist. And in this configuration, I found even sniping becomes somewhat practical. Though, as I mentioned, I'm a mouse and keyboard FPS guy, so even at the best of times, I am a bit clumsy with the sticks in FPS games on consoles, I'll admit that. So don't judge me too harshly for any gameplay you might be seeing where I look, drunk. And frankly, The Outer Worlds, while it is a first-person game, and it does have action, combat, and shooting, the shooting isn't the prime attraction of the gameplay. And in fact, depending on the choices you make and how you want to play through this RPG, the shooting can take up less than a third of the actual gameplay. And even in the most polished version of this game, the shooting mechanics aren't regarded as the best in class as far as shooters go anyway, in the same way that ARPGs like Fallout New Vegas were never good shooters because they were not made to be shooters. They were just heavily character and dialogue-driven deep RPGs that happen to have shooting mechanics in them. And in fact, if you weren't aware already, the dev team behind this game include two blokes who were responsible for what many consider to be the best Fallout games, and they themselves consider this game to be somewhat of a spiritual successor to the likes of Fallout New Vegas. And like I said before, all the important bits of this game, all the bits of this game that make this game so fantastically enjoyable, so rewarding to play through, aren't really hampered by the lower quality presentation or even the occasional performance issues, or indeed the less than top-of-the-class shooting mechanics, regardless of twin sticks or mouse or motion-assisted aiming. I sure as hell wish it was a better port. I wish it looked better. I wish it played smoother. But if this is the compromise we have to take in order to take this game onto a system with the flexibility and convenience of the Nintendo Switch, then okay, I'll accept that compromise and I'll do it happily. If you only game on the Switch because that's the one console you have, or it's your strong preference, or if your living situation means hogging the TV for long play sessions is impractical or rude, or if you wanted it to play on long commutes or travel or whatever, then yes. It will get the job done. There's no denying that it is compromised, but not in ways that destroy or harm the heart of the game. And it is a game well worth playing, even with these compromises. It is a classic for me already. It's not even a year old, and I consider it a classic in the genre. When it first launched on PC, the very next day after I finished my first playthrough, I started a fresh character immediately and played through it all again. This time playing a new role, making different choices and playing a different combat style, and it was every bit as rewarding the second time round, even immediately after just finishing the game already. And now on Switch, I'm having tremendous fun again, playing again with a new role, making different choices all over again. And despite my disappointment about how bad the game looks at times, or how janky the performance can be here and there, I have zero buyer's remorse about having purchased this game a second time. I've paid full price for this game twice, and I'm happy about it. But I do hope they keep working on patches to maybe hopefully smooth out some of the rougher edges that do remain. And it does seem, though, much of the blame for the performance compromises lays at the feet of the engine itself, not necessarily the team responsible for the port in the first place, as The Outer Worlds is far from the first game running on the Unreal Engine 4 that has had performance issues on the Switch. Both ports and Switch native games on UE4 have seen frequent performance issues quite commonly. Even one of Nintendo's own first-party games, Yoshi's Crafted World, has rather unusual performance issues for an Nintendo game, and they usually use their own internal engines and stuff, but you guessed it, Yoshi's Crafted World runs on UE4, and it paid for it in performance issues. But all told, as far as I'm concerned, The Outer Worlds is indeed worth owning on the Switch. It's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and if you're quick enough to this video, as I said in the opening, you can pop along and ask me any further questions you may have about the game, because I will be continuing my live playthrough over on twitch.tv/bluntnate. And thanks as always to my above and beyond supporters on Patreon. You people are amazing. Do you know how much it means to me? You do that. It's beautiful. Thank you. And to them and everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Blunty, and I will catch you next time.
It's not the best choice. It's Spacer's choice.